everyone, welcome to Software Build Week, and for today we are going to be building the database. This is actually the very first day of Software Build Week, and we want to make sure that we have the foundation of the app that we want to build, and with that we are going to be building the database. And before I go to all of that, I want to introduce you to the team members of MindFlows. So these are going to be the people who are building the Pulse, and I'll talk about that in the next slide. And this is our team, and let's have them introduce themselves one by one. We have Shanine. So Shanine, go ahead.
Hello everyone, my name is Janine. I'm the solutions architect and implementation consultant from MindFlows. I'm very excited to be a part of the Software Build Week Challenge, where I'll be leading the design and bringing our team's vision to life through thoughtful and intuitive app experiences.
Amazing. So Shanine has been very, very active in creating the portals and creating the apps that we've built for a lot of clients. And we have MK with us in our team as well. And MK is going to introduce herself a little bit.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is MK, and I'm also an implementation consultant at MindFlows and a software expert. So I'm also really excited to be part of the Software Build Week and also to show you what we'll be building together.
Awesome. So I mentioned the polls earlier, and before I go through all of that, I want to mention that we are doing this live. We want to make sure that you feel how we feel and how we have our thought process during the whole building process. And it's not easy, it's not fast, but we are going to be working together to bring the pulse to life. And with that, I am going to introduce you to our project, which is called the Pulse. That is going to be the modern company HQ, and this is going to be the digital heartbeat of your company. So what I mean by the digital heartbeat of the company is that it's basically where the company lives and breathes, and that means that the company does that with their people. And we thought about the app that we want to build for Software Build Week, and it has to be something that all companies would really be able to utilize, and we think that they would be able to do that through a company HQ. So what we mean by that is that you are going to have your onboarding steps, your onboarding tasks in the Pulse. You're going to have your offboarding, all of your knowledge base systems, your training, all of that will be done in the Pulse. And I think that it's a great idea because every company will be able to utilize that. And we're going to be building all of that from scratch with software products. So mainly just with software, we're going to have the Softr Database done in there. We're going to have the full front end and back end. We're going to have automations. We're going to have some workflows. And we are also even going to be using some AI capabilities in the Pulse. And this is the very first day. We have no idea yet how the rest of the days will go, but we're very excited to be building this together. We've done a couple of portals for a lot of clients at MindFlows, and this is just one of them, and this is a very big challenge because we want to build everything within a week. Actually, not a full week, it's going to be 5 days, but we're going to walk you through the whole process, go through each and every step one by one, and really make you understand what we are thinking about when we are building something. We are joining Software Build Week this week, and that's going to be very exciting because it's a 7-day global competition of software builders, whether they are new builders or expert builders. We are joining that this week, and with that, we're going to be building an app from scratch together with you, and we will do that live and let you guys test it later on. We'll show you what kind of product we come up with and what kind of product we have built by then. We are going to be building the Pulse. It's going to be the digital heartbeat of your company. It's going to be the modern company HQ, and that's going to be where all of your information or important information for your people in the company would be placed in or would be stored in. And we are very excited to build that together with you. Let's get started. The very first thing that we are going to be building today would be the Softr Database. With each and every app, it it has to live off of a database because the data has to be stored somewhere. And luckily with Softr, we can do that directly while we build the app. So it's not going to be where you would need to have another tech stack for just building the database, plus another one for front end, plus another one for the automations whatsoever. We can do all of that within Softr. So let's go ahead and go to Softr Studio. There we are. The very first thing that we're going to do will be to create the new app, and we can do that by clicking new app right here. Let's start from scratch and see where this goes. We have Softr Databases in here. That's what we're going to be using. With Softr, you can also do that with a lot of other tech stack. We are a Monday.com expert or Monday.com partner as well. So that's usually most of our projects that we are doing for Monday.com clients. And we basically build client portals, employee portals, HR portals, partner portals for Monday.com customers. But for this exact video and this exact challenge, we are going to be doing that through Softr Databases, which we think is also pretty cool. So let's click Softr Databases, click on continue. So Softr is going to create the app, and this is the very first look that you will get. Do not be overwhelmed. We are going to navigate our way through this. So at the top left corner, we have untitled application. I always want to work in an organized manner, and I always like to rename whatever I'm looking at so that I know exactly where to find it later on, and it's easier for me to navigate through my whole workflow or my whole workspace if I know exactly what each app is for. So as I said, we're going to be naming this the Pulse. There we go, I renamed that. This is just the first look that we are looking at right here, and we can always change these. But as I said, for this video, we are going to be starting with the database. So in order for us to create a new database for our new app, we are going to go to the data section. There we go. And this is the very first thing that we will see. I've already created a new database for us, and we can see that here in Softr Databases. Right now it's untitled, and as I said, we want to work in a very organized manner, right? So let's rename the database. Let's call it the Pulse. We already have our branding for the Pulse that we've decided on. So we are just going to change the color to our Pulse color, which is BD1234. There we go. All right, so we've created our database. That's the very first part of creating the database. There we go. So when creating a database, you need to make sure that you have an idea of the tables that you want to build. So each table is basically a set of data that are very useful in order for you to create your app later on. So in this example, we've already thought about the databases that we want to have. So what I want to do is go through the list of tables and just create them and then work on the tables later on. Again, like each person might have their own way of building things. This is how we like to build it. And I always want to rename whatever I'm working on. So let's say we have here table 1. So that's going to be the people. So what I mean by the people would be the user list or the list of people who are going to be using the app. And I will explain that specific table later on. The next blank table that I want to add would be the departments. So that would be the company department, let's say operations, sales, marketing, HR, etc. There we go. Next would be our requests table. So what I mean by the requests table would be the list of requests sent by the employee to the admins or to the company admins. So requests. Next, we're going to have announcements. So this is basically going to be the list of announcements that the company wants to make and to share with the whole company. So let's name that announcements. Let's add the new table. So we're going to call that policies. So basically the list of company policies that they want to share with the people. Next, we have knowledge base. This is going to be a table with a list of assets that they want to share with each other. And then next we have company events, self-explanatory. And then we are going to have the onboarding. So this will be the table with a list of onboarding tasks that each person would have to go through when they enter or when they join a new company. All right, so these are the basic tables that we would be using for the polls. We might add more of them later on as we go, because as we're building, we also just tend to get some more newer ideas, and then we'll just then add all of these data or all of these tables later on. All right, so let's start with the people. All right, so the people is basically the list of employees that a company would have. So this is going to be the company directory, right? So what we need whenever a new person starts in a new company would be the basic information about this employee, right? So we would need the employee's full name. What I want to do is that instead of just sticking with the column name, I want to change this. So we can do that by clicking this button right here, edit field, and then we're going to rename that to full name. So that's basically the full name of the employee that we want to add. There we go. Description is something that it's already here. It's from the template, but then we don't need that for this example. And what I want to do is that whenever we're building new databases, I always want to start fresh. I always want to start from scratch so that I have a better way of thinking, and so that it's cleaner. Everything's just cleaner in my head. So I'm going to remove all of these. There we go. All right, so let's add the next field. So that's going to be a status field. So we want to make sure that we know if the employee is active or inactive. So as you can see, I clicked add field in here, and we have a list of column options that we can use. So in this example, I would like to use a select option. So that means that you are going to be selecting a certain data point for this specific row, right? And we always want to have the field name right here. So I'm gonna name it to status. And the field type is called select. And we have the options in here. So we want to know if the employee is either active or inactive, right? And as I go, I want to make sure that everything looks clean and that the colors are actually resonating to the specific status option that they are related to. So active would normally be green, right? So let's change that to green, and inactive would normally be red. So changing that to red. All right, so you need to define if this column can have more than one option. And if this column would have more than one option, then you would need to turn this toggle on if you allow multi-select for the specific column. But in our case, that doesn't really make sense, because an employee is either actively in the company or inactively there. So this part here would not be useful for us. And what we're going to do now is to either select the default option, which is going to be active or inactive. So naturally, when we are adding a new person or a new user in our company, so naturally they would be active, right? So this is just something that makes it cleaner. So we're going to auto select active so that whenever a new person comes in, they will automatically be tagged as active. And then just click save. There we go. So we have a new column that was added. Very simple, very easy to do. And that would basically define if the employee is actively in the company or not. Next, we're going to add a new field. And the next field that I want to add is the employee's email address. So in the company directory, you would normally have the full name, the status of the employee, the email address, the work phone, and also the department where they're in. and a profile picture. That would also be nice as well. So we have, again, the add field button, or we have clicked the add field button, and next we're going to have to select what kind of field we want to add. So in this case, as I said, I want to add the employee's work email, right? So we're going to click email, and then we are going to name this work email. There we go. Next is, as I mentioned earlier, we want to add the employee's phone number or work phone number. So we're going to click the add field button again and just look for phone number. There we go, work phone. Phone number format, you can choose this as well. Let's go for local, and then in this case, let's just stick with United States and click save. There we go. Next is the department. All right, so this is something that's very important because we're not going to be just using a select field type. We're going to be using a field type that connects to other tables. So in this example, we are going to be using the related record. And the reason why we want to do that is because there could be new departments that a company would want to integrate in their workflow, right? So there might be some small businesses that start with 2 people or 3 people. So naturally, they wouldn't have a lot of departments in the company yet, but as they grow, we want to make sure that they have the option to add a new department. So that's why we want to have that kind of field type in this section. So we're going to name that department, right? So we want to make sure that we know in which department this employee belongs to. And field type is going to be the related record field. So that means that this column is going to be connected to another column in another table. So we are going to select the departments table. There we go. And we will deselect this because naturally an employee would normally only belong to one department. However, maybe for scalability purposes or just to be a little bit flexible, let's just allow this and then click save. And then here we are going to select which column in the specific, or which specific column in the other table this employees or this column would be connected with. So we're going to choose name. So that means that later on when we work on the departments table, name would basically be either operations or HR or sales or something else. So let's just select name, click add. There we go. All right, and the last one, the last field would be our profile picture. So in Softr, we don't have a picture field type nor a photo field type. What we have though is the file field type. So naturally a photo is a file, right? So we are going to choose the file column and let's name the field to profile picture. Field type, we want to show it as a small preview. We don't want multiple files, right? Because we want for the employee to only choose one specific photo. So let's deselect that. All right, and let's remove this. All right, let's click save. So there we have it. We have the very first table for the polls, and that's our people table. And this is basically just a very easy and direct list of employees that are in the company. And we have everything in here. We have the most important information, such as the full name, the employee status, the work email, work phone, the department, the profile picture. Everything's in here already. Now we're ready to move on to our next table. So that's going to be the department. And as I go, the reason why I have my team here with me as well is because as I go and work on the other tables and explain to you guys how we build these other tables, I'm going to have my team just fill this with dummy data, and just so that we can see some data later on when we are building the app. So MK, let's have you just add 5 employees in here. All right, and just leave the department column empty because I'm still going to be doing that. So let's just add 5 dummy data or 5 dummy rows in here. All right.
All right.
Awesome. There we go. So my team is going to be working on this in the background. So now let's go to the second table. That's the departments table. So what would be the usual departments that we would have in a company, right? So that is going to be HR, operations, sales, and marketing. All right, so just adding them as we go, just so that you guys can have a little bit of feeling of what kind of next columns we're gonna add. So as I said before, I want to remove the existing columns in here, right? So description, we don't really need that. We know exactly what each department is for. Status, we don't need that as well. And people, this one we will keep. So this is basically the related field that we have in the people table, right? So that's the people table here. That's basically this column that's connected to this column. All right, so we know exactly which people are in HR, which people are in operations, which ones are in sales, which ones are in marketing. All right, so now let's go to add field because we want to have the department head in here, right? This is going to be interesting because I think that for the department head, what we can do is to also connect that with the people table. Because naturally, if you have a department in a company, the department head, which is a person, already exists in your database. So let's choose the related record field type so that we can select the department head. There we go. All right, related record field type, and here we are going to choose the table that we want to select this information from. So that's going to be the people table. And we will not allow linking to multiple records because naturally the usual flow is that only one person is the department head, right? So let's untoggle that and click save. And as you can see, we have the option here to add the lookup field, or basically the field that should be connected in this specific column. So naturally what we want to do is we want to see the full name of the department head, right? So let's click on full name and click add. All right, there we go. So as you can see in here, we can select the people or the person. As you can see in here, we can select the person, right? So we have Alex Ramirez, Daniel Cruz, etc. So if we select Alex Ramirez, we have that in here as well. Now let's take a look at the people column. As you can see, we have this column that was created. So we can just rename that as we go. So it's going to be department lead. All right, so now we have the departments table. We have the related field types in here. We have 2 of them. So in the departments table, we have the people that are in the specific department, and we have the department head for that specific department. And if we double click here, we can select the department head for, let's say in this example, for the operations department. So I'm going to select Emily Torres. There we go. And when we go back to the people table, we can see that Emily Torres is the department lead for the operations department. So that's basically how it's just connected with each other, right? We want to make sure that our data is talking to each other and that we are not duplicating information where it doesn't need any duplication. All right, so I think that looks good. We're good to go. We have the foundation. Next, we're going to go to the requests table. So the requests table is basically going to be a list of requests sent by the employees to the admin team or to the company. So as I said, I want to start from scratch all the time. And I want to rename the first column. So the first column is going to be the request name. All right. So basically just the name of the request. Let's say, for example, it's a paid time off or... All right, so what I want to do is that I want to rename the first column so that we know exactly what this indicator is for. So instead of name, we want to be very clear of what we have here, right? So this is going to be the requester. So that means that this is the person who sent the request. Later on, we will show you guys how that plays a role in our app. So that looks good. That's going to be pre-filled by the name of the employee. Next is we have the request status. So as I said, if you have a single select option kind of flow, then we would want to use the select field type and then add the options in here. So our options would be accepted, rejected, and pending. So naturally, accepted would be green, rejected would be red, and pending would maybe be, let's just make it blue. There we go. We're not going to allow multi-select, and let's click save. And oops, I want to rename the field. So that's going to be request status. There we go. Click save. Next is we want the requester's email. So that's going to be the email address. So we're going to name that requester email. Save. Next is we have the request type. So it's going to be either a PTO request, a sick leave, or others. So I'm just gonna click or select the select field type and add request type. Add the options. So that's either PTO, sick leave, or other. That looks good. Next is going to be the start date and the end date. All right, so we don't have a timeline field type in Softr databases, but what we do have is the date field type, right? So we're going to be using the select, the date field type in here, and we're going to add the start date. So that means that when do they want to start their PTO? So select start date. That looks good. Display time zone. Let's select New York. Preview. And click save. Next is to add the end date. There we go. Looks good. And then what we want to add might be some notes. So we have either the option to choose short text or long text. I think long might be the best way for us to do here, because maybe there might be a very long message that the requester wants to send to the company or to HR. So let's just select long text. And this is going to be the notes column. There we go. So this is going to be the list of requests that the employees would want to send to the company. And this looks very good. We can add more things later on. Next is the announcements. And again, I want to delete all of the columns that we have in here. And then I want to rename the first column. So this is going to be the announcement name. Let's resize that a bit. Next is we have the department. So we want to know for which department is this announcement. So let's again select related fields or related record. And the announcement might be for multiple departments, right? So let's name this to departments. Related table would be the departments table. There we go. We do not need to add a lookup field for now. So that basically is going to be a field or a column that mirrors another column in the departments table. And we'll add that later on. There we go. And then next we want to have the announcement details. So the details might be long, right? So let's just add the long text field type in here. So rename this to announcement details. There we go. And then the date posted would basically be when this announcement was created. So we have two options in here. We can either add a date field type. So that's where the admin would select a specific date on when this was posted. However, what we can just do is that we can just add the created at field type. So that means that it will already pre-fill this column or this field based on when this new announcement was posted. So let's just select that. So we work in a way smarter way. And let's have the date posted field name in here. Click save. And then we have the last update, which we also have as a field type in Softr Databases. All right, so we can either select any editable field or any fields, including read-only or specific fields only. Let's just add any editable field in here just so that we know exactly that if any of the fields in this table would be edited or updated, then it would automatically update this column or this field right here. All right, that looks good. Next is we have the policies table. Again, I'm gonna delete all of the fields that we have in here. I want to start from scratch and then rename the first field. So this is going to be our policy name. And then we're gonna have a related, let's resize that. We're gonna have a related record column in here or field because we want to see for which department this policy is valid for. So maybe this policy is also valid or should be followed by multiple departments. So we can just select that here as well. And then we're going to select the departments table. There we go. And then we will have the policy URL. So there might be another link that would lead us to the policy. Maybe it's a Dropbox link, maybe it's a website link, or anywhere else where the company stores their policies. So we are going to choose the field type, which is going to be the URL field type. So policy URL. Next is, let's just add the policy notes. So we want to make sure that we have the possibility for the company to just add some policy notes in here, right? And then we're going to have date posted, and like in the previous table, I just want to use the created at field in here and then add the last update, last updated. There we go. We have the policies table. Next is the knowledge base. You guys already know what I'm going to do here. So remove the second and third columns and then edit the first one. So that's going to be our knowledge base or our list of assets, right? So we have the asset name in here. Just resize that. Add field, and then we're gonna select the department that this asset is for. So we're gonna select the related record field type. There we go. Next, we're gonna have the the asset status. So it's either going to be approved or rejected. So this means that we might have other people or random people in the company or random employees in the company who want to share an asset to everyone, right? But because we want to make sure that they're actually sharing an appropriate asset or a good asset or a valuable asset, we would maybe want to have the company or the admin or HR approve it. So we have the approved and the rejected section here, or selection. And next we're going to have the asset URL. Maybe they want to share a URL or a video link that they think would be very beneficial to others. So let's add asset URL there. Next would be the asset notes. And then we have the date posted again, and the last update. As you can see, we're working a bit faster as we go. Next is we have the company events. So this is, I think, very self-explanatory. Let's delete the second and the third columns. And then let's rename the first column. So the first column or the first field would be the event name. Next would be the related record. We want to make sure that we know for which department this event has been created. There we go, departments. It could be for multiple departments, right? So let's click save. Next is the event status. So again, because we want to know if the event is, or if the event has been approved or rejected, we're going to use the select field type. Approved, rejected. There we go. Next is going to be the event start date and the event end date. Event end date. And then we're going to have the event details. So I want to add a long text in here because there might be a very long set of details that the company would want to share with the employees, right? So event details. Next is going to be the event link. Maybe we want to have an RSVP link added in here. So we selected the URL field type and then rename the field name. There we go. And then the date posted field. And of course, the last update field. There we go. Cool. All right, so as I go, or as I was going through the different tables, I had my team just add more information, just some dummy data that we want to add in the database, just so that when we are creating the app later on, we have a visualization of what is gonna happen or how it looks like. So I think this is pretty cool. There you go. They're working as I'm adding the tables. Next is the onboarding. So this is very important because there might be a lot of information and a lot of steps that you would need to complete in order for an employee to be onboarded with a company or in the company. So again, I want to remove the second and third columns. And then I want to rename the first column. So the first field or column that we have in here would basically be the name of the employee. So our idea is that whenever a new employee is added in the people table, it should also create a new onboarding item or a new onboarding row in this specific table, because that means that whenever a new employee joins the company, there are going to be a list of tasks, or there are going to be tasks that they would need to complete, right? Or HR would need to complete. So let's add this one right here. So employee name. And then let's add the very first onboarding task, which might be email access, right? So each employee would normally need to have a new email address. So email access, and let's change this to requested. So that means that HR might need to request the IT department for a new, or for them to create a new email address for this new employee. Requested, completed, or maybe the new employee might not need their own email address. Not required. So changing that to different colors. There we go. Next might be phone access, right? So now I'll just give you guys a tip because it's basically the same, right? So requested, completed, not required. So we might just want to duplicate the email access field for the phone access field. So I just clicked on duplicate. There we go. What other onboarding tasks do we have? So maybe we want to have an onboarding task for the employee to join the training. Or let's just name the field to training, scheduled, completed. Maybe this is going to be like an HR training that you won't want to have. There we go. Maybe we would also want to have the employee have their own laptop, right? So let's just duplicate the phone access field and then just move that. And actually, it would be better if it's right here. And let's rename that to computer. So that means that you've either requested for the computer to already be sent to the employee, or they've already received it, or they're not required to have their own computer. There we go. So these are just some of the onboarding tasks that we have. There are probably a lot more. I've seen a lot of companies with 100 onboarding tasks, especially for big companies. So let's just stick with these ones right here, and we will add as we go. But these are basically the information that we would need in our database. For the pulse, we want to add more, and we will show you guys that as we go. And it's gonna be a little bit smarter later on, but let's just keep the foundation strong and simple. And this is basically how a database is built in Softr. And for the next video, and afterwards, we are going to show you how we build the app with Softr. So as I mentioned earlier, the heart of the app is the database, and you need to make sure that the database is built correctly and properly, and also that not a lot of information is duplicated, so that you have a strong foundation for your app. Because later on you will see how the information or the data within your system or within your app will talk to each other, and these fields, these field types, they are going to be very important for your app, because you will need them for your content, you will need them for your filters, for your sort functionalities, for your search buttons or search functionalities. So all of that basically plays a role with each other. And as you can see, my team is adding some dummy information right here. So I think that's super cool that we are able to show you guys the database of the pulse, and I think that we are ready to start with the app later on. So again, the app that we are building is the pulse. It's the digital heartbeat of your company, and by that we mean that's going to be the people in your company. You want to make sure that whenever a new person is joining your company, that they feel at home, that they have exactly what they need, that they know what kind of resources they have at their fingertips directly within one digital platform. And that's what the Pulse stands for. It basically gives the information all throughout the company employees, and for you to be able to live off of this app for anything that you need within your team. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been fun, and A lot of information I know, but I think that this is super exciting because we have already built our database for the Pulse, and we're going to be adding more information and more ideas later on as we go. But I think we have a strong foundation for now, and it's been fun, and I'm super excited to build the rest with you guys. Thank you, and this was just one at Mindflows. And if you guys need any kind of help or any assistance with your portals, with your Monday.com projects, or your creation of your apps through Softr, or even web apps and API integrations, contact us at Mindflows and join us for our next webinars and next trainings. And you can also book a free consultation with us anytime. All right, so that's going to be mindflows.eu, and this has been fun. And thank you guys for tuning in.